Welcome, everybody, to the Wealth Spirit Masterclass. I am your host, Coach Joe, and with me today, I have Tim the Girl. Tim, you are known at this point because how can you not listen to Tim the Girl? Because it's Tim and it's a girl. So she built a brand around it. She is the creator and the owner of that brand, as well as the Good Kind, which is a food and catering brand, but it's also about conceptual design and being a menu consultant. So it's really about the entire experience in some ways of food and celebrations around food, but also a very healthy kind as such. So I invited you to speak because we're talking about passion-driven businesses. We're talking about, can you really make money off of something you love to do, right? Can you really create a business with staff, with infrastructure, with clients and customers? Because I think a lot of people hang out with their hobbies and it never takes off because they can't conceive that they can make it into a business. So could you speak to that a little bit? Because at some point you probably went from hobby to pro.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see that, look, the infrastructure part is the daunting part.
Right.
I think it's really hard. Just like, I'm trying to even think when I get asked about how this happened, I kind of can't remember. But it's just, yeah, I mean, I think it's just that it's finding, I mean, look, I think the main thing is just getting help. Like, it's hard to see that vision to make that step from, because I think the main thing being that when it's a passion driven business more than just business, it's really hard to let go of control. So I think that's the main thing, right? So you can't imagine it becoming too big because how could you do all that?
Right.
I really don't have to do all that.
Right.
Right. So it's about learning to like, oh, right, there's other people that they are a professional in their job. And so you need those people. And then that becomes daunting. And because you're like, well, I can't afford to have those people. So, I mean, I remember that. I mean, even still, I live in that,
Right.
where I'm like, okay, I want this, because you keep upping the game.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute. So I need someone that's like really good at this specific thing. But, oh, right, all the good people are cost much. And I think really early on, I definitely remember being like, okay, I just have to have like blind faith. And there's been many times where like it almost was completely failed. And look, there may be more to come, but it's just like, I remember when I crossed that line. I also was, I moved to San Antonio from New York City, and I started my business just also out of necessity. And I was a full-time single parent, and I, even just on a personal level, I quickly was like, wait a minute, I need help. I'm going to hire a housekeeper. I totally couldn't afford it. Lots of my friends are like, you're insane. Like, you are like, can't afford to go out for dinner, but you have a housekeeper. I was like, absolutely. Because it's like breaking down what your time is best spent doing.
Right.
And if you are like someone who can create and wants to build a business, you can't be doing all the other stuff.
Right. Right.
So I took it from personal to then business. I was like, okay, I have the housekeeper, the yard guy. I was like, interesting. Maybe I'll hire a bookkeeper,
right.
Maybe I'll, right.
So that's an interesting question though, because let's say we have someone who's starting out or is somewhere in between, but like you said, they're in a bit of that sole proprietor trap where I got to control everything. It's small, but it's just me.
Right.
Okay. So let's say they're going to hire their first person. Do they hire a housekeeper or do they hire a bookkeeper, or let's say a housekeeper or an executive assistant? I mean, what's the first hire?
I think it really depends. I mean, I really think that comes down to being able to truly ask yourself like what you are best at, or what parts of what you're best at are best going to serve your end goal. I mean, I know people that really I find it very hard to believe, but their end goal is to be this like perfect homemaker and child rearer.
Right.
I was not that. I was like, no, I'm definitely first gonna hire the housekeeper and a part-time nanny and someone to do my yard, because like to me I was just like, Not that I look, if I was retired, I'd love to be a gardener and but I just was like, no, that stuff is, and I think it's also a matter of assigning each of the tasks that you do in your day, whether you have to or you want to, kind of, it sounds maybe a bit clinical, but it's like assigning all of those things a number of what they cost, right? So I do remember kind of, and I'm not super organized, but just being like, okay, wait a minute, what am I doing? Could someone else be doing this? And how much would I be paying someone else to do this? So like when I'm, trying to keep up with, a kid and all his activities, and my son was 5 when we moved here, and I was like a full-time single parent. It was like, okay, I'm going to get a driver, like a nanny who part-time picks him up at school. So my work day isn't ended at 3 p.m, right? Or like this holiday or this half day. Okay, I'm, those, and so on down the line. And then that works into your business. To me, it's very like when people talk about work-life balance and you're an entrepreneur, I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's a joke. Okay, there isn't.
Right.
Personally, if things are going badly, things are going to probably be, until you have like a big infrastructure, things are going to go badly in business also. Right. Now I have enough infrastructure in the business where if something, really big happened, the crew, I can just kind of say like, I'm out for a few days. And it's not going to affect my business so much, but in that between phase, that's really hard to. And so, you bring that then into business, and what am I doing right now? Could I be out having the creative space? Because that's something people totally forget about, right? It's just like this productivity wheel that everyone's on. But if you're the visionary and creator of something, you need time to do nothing. And that is something that people don't really schedule in. So, and then so on down the line of all those jobs in the business. Why am I standing here dicing onions, when I still did all the cooking myself? I was like, wait a minute, no, I could pay someone X amount, what's the going rate? Okay, I'm going to pay people always a little bit better than everyone else because I want the good people and I want that rapport with my staff. So yeah, I think that's a way. I think that's important.
And what do you do then during obviously right now you're opening another restaurant and another, kind of another business within your business, which is always a crunch time. But, in your day-to-day.
But I'm here.
Yeah. What do you do during your creative time?
I haven't had a lot lately, but I would say for me, like, I like to be alone. I stay a lot of steam rooms. And then I would say between that and kind of taking, which this always comes last, but I really do think it's an important thing to do, is to see what other people are doing, because it's also very easy to live in a vortex. I don't know. It's almost embarrassing how little I know about what's going on in the world. I had someone come to tour our new venue and I still can't even remember the name, but they're like, that's the Speaker of the House. And I was like, what house? Like, I truly live in a serious
house.
Yeah.
My house.
Seriously, I don't. Well, I blame everything on being Canadian. But I think seeing in your field what other people are doing, and I think that's hard. But I think that is definitely something that for me, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I like to just randomly search like things that are, I kind of try to think, okay, where would people be sort of like-minded? Because I definitely live in a scene that I don't find a ton of like-minded. I'm also one of the only women in my scene, let's say, in San Antonio. There's a few other ones, but, entrepreneurs are always obsessed in their own world. So I like to be like, okay, wait a minute. What is a catering company or like a healthy food concept doing in Copenhagen or somewhere in New Zealand? Like, I'm always kind of trying, and that I find super inspiring, where I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Whoa. All right. I'm not alone. Like, so that would be.
I think that's fantastic, because I don't think about those things. Like, that's a new idea for me. I'm like, oh, I've never looked up anybody in New Zealand. Like, I haven't, I should care about that. because I'm sure they're doing really groovy things, right? Like, right?
Right. I mean, it's
And
hard to take that time, but I definitely find that it's when I get just totally emptied and drained and I think everything is futile.
right.
That's what I do. Because I'm like, oh, right. There's a whole world out there and lots of
Yeah.
other people that are like-minded. I mean, yeah.
Right. Right. You do that, and I look at Bored Panda. I should make
What's
it
that?
better. You never seen Bored Panda? Oh, it's fantastic.
No.
It's the best waste of time. I mean, and it's just little ditties where, like, 20 ways that she pranked him, over Christmas, and 30 ways a cat can, like, crawl between the cracks of a couch. It's the
Oh,
stupidest
wow.
thing.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't do any of those kinds of things.
I don't either, but this you have to check it out though, because most of them are bad, but this one's actually pretty good. So anyway, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, whatever floats your boat to get you out of, like, the spreadsheets and out of because
Oh yeah, no, I can
right?
definitely pack back some like super like mind-numbing, like binge watch a show Netflix or something like that is,
Right.
but I wouldn't call that creative time.
Right.
I would call that like I need to check out. Like sometimes I get home and I'm just like nobody can talk to me. Like
Right.
I'm going to watch the first season of Law and Order. Like,
First
I think
season.
it's like totally just like what my husband is
Right.
like he knows now
Right.
by what is on my computer, like what state I'm in.
Right.
He's like, oh whoa, like I'm not even gonna go
Right. If it's that, I'm not
yeah,
I'm going
exactly.
out with the guys. Yes, I
Yeah.
understand. So, well, that's a very good distinction. Like, the good distinction then is creative time versus kind of shutting down time, or
Right.
just downtime.
I think
Uh,
very different.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to the downtime. I'm actually trying to not let ideas come into my head and not be thinking about anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really like to. I have often, and I mean, I don't get much time to watch things. I'm usually just like, what, I'm done. But that I only will watch things that have subtitles, so I can't also be working. Right? Because if I'm watching something in English, I'll just open 10 more tabs and be like doing a million other things. And now I'm like, no, it has to be like, I love all those Northern European shows, right? From Sweden, from Norway. I'm super obsessed with those shows because I have to watch, or else it's just like blabber in the background.
Yeah. No, for sure. Oh, you watch, like, some really good, like, criminal mysteries and stuff from that.
Borgen. I really liked Borgen Wallander, the original one.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm newly obsessed with The Bureau, that French spy show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if you have not seen it, it is amazing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'd say a lot of French, Swedish. The Norwegian ones are a little bit dark even for me. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to watch something. It was a really good one. I forget what it's called. Fortitude, I think.
Uh-huh.
Is it Icelandic? I forget what it is, but anyway, it's just it's never light, and I'm like, no, that is too much for me.
Right. That has to be limited. Okay, so I think so if you think about, I think I always find it so odd when people use like say the why or the ask. It's like, that is not proper English, but anyway, like your why, like your reason for doing what you do. Is there an essence of it that's always remained the same, or has it changed?
That's a tough one. I mean, I think on basic levels, there's also the thing that's the same. Like, I don't want to work my ass off forever. And, I have the practical reasons remain the same. I mean, but I'd say there's definitely a thread that has remained the same as far as what is the end game. I mean, I would say separate than business wise. I mean, that's changed, right? With the word. Sorry, we're opening in 2 hours. My brain is a little bit sorry. So the scale of it has changed, right? Like what I could dream of 3 years ago is different than what I can dream of now, okay, versus 7 years ago. I mean, I didn't even really have a plan. Like, I did not go into this with like this is my end game, okay? That I'm learning. I'm kind of working in reverse now, being like, oh, wait a minute, right? I should have one. But now it's big enough that I need one. But I do think that the essence of it, as you say, is that, you know, the creating a company that means something more than just making money. I mean, and maybe did I not have that thought, I would make a lot more money. I definitely am like, okay, this is it. Like I'm pretty, I stick, you know, I want to stick to my morals. There's a lot of examples of things that happen. I mean, our packaging is all super, like the highest quality eco packaging that you can get, right? It's all disposable, and it's a fortune. And we had to actually have a company bring it into San Antonio because like not many people use it. Like the full line, nobody does. And I have, you know, investors, and I have anyone who works for me that's in charge of keeping the budgets in line, like hate me because of it. They're just like, if we just, I mean, the amount of times people are like, if we just change that, our bottom line will be this much better. I'm like, absolutely not. Okay. There are certain things that are just, I'm like, no, that is not up for negotiation. If you bring in a product that is not this, like, you're going to be fired. Okay. Like, it can't be like, so sticking to the brand, I think that sort of the essence of what those things are and what it means has stayed the same. Maybe my reach is now a little bit bigger.
So what are you doing in 10 years?
Yeah, those are the things where I'm saying I'm working backwards, where I'm like, I mean, what it exactly looks like, I'm really not sure. But I mean, I'm working, but I can work from anywhere in 10 years for sure. Maybe, and not working this much. But I mean, I'm basically never not working, so you know, better than that. But I really, even now, I don't do like very much of the hands-on work. Right. And I'll catch myself sometimes going into it, and like my whole crew has been basically up for 4 days, like getting ready for our first opening, and I'll catch myself, you know, because I want to be with them and part of it, you know, it's a team and that, but I'll catch myself getting super annoyed, and I'm trying to like put shelving in properly that wasn't put in properly, and I'm just like, no, like I back away. And I'm like, okay, there's 10 people walking around. I'm like, okay, so who's good at merchandising and figuring out exactly where they shall? I don't want to do it. So in 10 years, I'm really never doing any of those things. No, and I'm very good. I hand off the jobs. So in 10 years, I mean, the company, I mean, in Dreamland, the good kind has scaled, and I don't feel like I would want to sell the company, but I would definitely want to have super like tried and true and experienced people that know how to do that. I mean, that's in the next couple of years, actually, finding someone that understands truly scaling this type of business. Like, I don't have any interest in learning all of that myself, like zero. So in 10 years, we have more of those. In 10 years, I'm going to be 58 years old. So I'm like, okay, by then I definitely want to be working, but not having to be around all the time, and working on bigger projects. Right. I can't say exactly.
Right. Well, I mean, it's great. It's great. And I love your brand. I know your brand, and I love your brand. And, you know, my other speakers, we've gotten a lot of kind of, you know, business advice, and some kind of, you know, mentorship advice, and some meditation advice, but we're going to get something that no other speaker has given as a free gift, which is one of your customers' favorite recipes, which we're super excited about because after all, you are the good kind. You're Tim the girl, and awesome food is what you do. So thank you for that. And what would you say to somebody who, let's say, they have more spirit than business savvy, but they do want to make what they're passionate about their business? What would you say to them?
Don't get a business partner.
Why? Motivate? Why?
I mean, I made that mistake because I thought that I couldn't do all the what, let's just say, I think people that lean more to the spirit and creative side think they can never do it. Mm-hmm. Figure out, find people around you that know more than you and ask them for help, and then figure out how you're going to make enough money to hire the right people that to do all the things that you're not good at doing. I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of people that don't go that way. They learn how to, and you need to learn all the parts. I definitely made that mistake where I didn't learn all the parts, and that's why I got into a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. Now I know enough about all the parts, but I know enough to also be like, I will never hire anyone for any job that isn't way better than what I know.
Right.
I want them to be teaching me. I'm like, the reason I'm going to hire you is so that you teach me how this all goes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I think the lesson we can draw from that is that don't get a partner because you think you can't.
Right. Look,
right?
There's plenty of partnerships that I see that I'm kind of envious of, and yes, it's nice to share the load. I mean, it is just, it's stressful. Like, I definitely pretty sure many years have been shaved off my life, and it's just carrying the weight of the world. But the more that you find mentors, the more that you hire the right people, the more that you realize that it's so easy when you are like really a sole provider of a business where the weight is like crippling at times, right? I mean, I've had many months of sleepless nights of just like, am I gonna be able to pay people? It's so many things, but hiring the right people, I just think that's all it is. I mean, if it's a spirit, not the business, a lot of times I'm just like, are you 100% sure you want this for your business? Okay. I would be very clear in asking yourself that, because I will say, and for sure, it's like, so my original thing, I love entertaining. I love cooking that. I don't love those things anymore. So that is something I think that people need to really realize. Like, if you really want what your passion is to be your business, think about that is not going to be your passion. Right. Okay. Your passion is going to need to shift into something far bigger than that, which is going to be a company. Depending what level you're wanting to take something to. Like, look, if you just love baking, sure, having just a cake business that's just you, whatever, that's fine. But I'm saying if you want to build a big business, there is no way that what the thing is that you're passionate about is going to remain that way.
Right. And then so be clear about that, right? That's what you're saying.
Very clear about that. You're then going to be running a business, whatever the product is, whatever, and I think that most people that have more passion-driven businesses, they're the ones that can't let go of the control of the product. And that's just, and I remember very clearly the little bits that came along where I'm like, I hired people, and then I go to this and I'm like, who made that? Like, what? Because something's in your head and it's so clear. And how could everyone not have like airdrop in their head? Right. It's like, then it's like, okay, how do I come up with the systems to make sure? And I have to be able to let go. And so if you're someone that's like crazy, passionate, OCD about everything being perfect, you really probably shouldn't be starting that business.
Right. Yeah. So, you gotta be able to let it go. Yeah.
Right.
I get it. All right. Well, this was great. Where you're gonna go and just open your restaurant right at this moment. So thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah.
Good luck with the opening.
Thank you.
And really, thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.